Greetings and welcome. We are in Senior English A, and now our objective is to turn to the Christopher Marlowe poem, The Passion and Shepherd to His Love. I'm on page 266 with you. We will then move to the Sir Walter Raleigh response that appears on 268. Now, a couple of observations before we actually work with these poems. When we are thinking about the notion of romantic love, we are talking about a relatively new idea. No kidding. No kidding. I am not saying that guys and girls did not like each other and hook up a long time ago. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the idea that two people can meet and decide on their own to be together, that is a relatively new idea. From about the Renaissance on, it finally starts to be an acceptable idea. What are you talking about? What was before that? You already know the answer to that because you know the play Romeo and Juliet, a product of the Renaissance. Remember? We see Romeo for the first time in R&J. I realize it was 4 years ago, but help yourself to remember. We see Romeo for the first time, and we're told he's walking around, he's so sad, he's ready to blow his brains out. And the audience assumes it's because Juliet is not responding to his calls or his texts. No, Romeo doesn't even know Juliet exists. He will see her later at the party. He's in love with another girl, a young girl named Rosalind. She hasn't responded to his text. She doesn't have any time for him. The next time the scene opens, we see an older man, his name is Paris, talking with a father who's Juliet's dad, asking if he can marry a 13-year-old Juliet. The age difference is identifiable. Got me? It's an old guy asking to marry a young girl. The father's response is interesting. He says, why don't you at least meet her, get to know her, and then we'll decide. Which tells you something informative. Paris has never even met Juliet. This has got nothing to do with hooking up and falling in love. This is totally about politics. Marriage is about bringing families together. It's got nothing to do with love. Later, when we see Juliet's mom, she's so excited that Juliet gets to marry Paris. Juliet's mother's already, she's like, okay, this is a done deal. We've taken care of that one. And Paris's daddy, like he has a parking spot at the country club too, just like us. This is a great wedding. This is what we're going to do. Juliet's like, really? I don't know. I'm kind of young. Juliet's mother says, I already had you by the time I'm your age. Whoa. Juliet's mom's like, this has got nothing to do with love at all. Which is why when Romeo and Juliet meet, this is a Renaissance text, when they meet on that dance floor, that's why it's such a big dog deal that they talk back and forth to each other with no adults around. And what is it that they say? Romeo uses language to say, you're hot and I like you. Can I get your number? That is a radical idea. I realize that's totally, well, yeah, that's the way things go today. But in the Renaissance, that's a brand new concept. Now we're going to see this played out in the Renaissance, where we will have poems where you're going to have a guy speaking to a girl to try to convince her, no, this is great, you and I are going to be together. To do that, the guy has to promise her certain things. Got me? Now we're going to have some irony at play. Put it in your notes. This poem that we're looking at, To the Passion and Shepherd to His Love, there's going to be some irony. I'm just going to ask you to take a ballpark guess. How much money do you think a shepherd has? Right? It's a complete and total joke to even ask. The shepherd's got no money. He's totally poor. Got me? He's going to ask a girl, hey, will you be my girl? The only problem is he's got nothing to offer in the form of cash, money, stuff. So what he's going to do is he's going to say to his girl, I can't give you money, but what I can promise you is this. That's what you want to write in your notes at level 1. And the question is an interesting one at level 1. And while you listen to this poem, I want you to begin to jot down, what does he promise her? What does he promise her? I'll give you a hint. Interestingly enough, it's not him. It's not him. He doesn't promise her him. Dude, look, you get this. No, no, no. That's not what he says. What he says is, I'll give you stuff. But the kind of stuff that he's going to offer her, that's what you want to write down in your notes, because it's kind of ironic and it's kind of interesting. Okay? The poem becomes wildly successful, very popular poem. Another contemporary poet, Sir Walter Raleigh, imagines the girl to give a response. The response is the second poem we'll look at. Notice it real quickly on page 268. The nymph, a young girl, and this word nymph is laden with all kinds of extra meanings that I'll get into when I talk Hamlet later, has a reply to the shepherd. All right. Now, Marlowe wrote the first poem. Sir Walter Raleigh wrote the second poem where he imagines the girl responding. The girl's response is a fascinating response. She guns him down. Let's just say it out loud. She guns him down. But we're more interested in why she guns him down. What is the reason that she says, yeah, no, I don't think so? Got me? So we're going to listen to both of these poems back to back. When we finish, I'm going to ask you two questions. Question one, what does the shepherd offer the girl in the poem? What does he kind of offer her? Some things. Can you list at least 3 things that he offers her? And then 2, I'm going to ask you, in the second poem, why does she gun him down? What, he's ugly? He's like, but ugly. You're just not hot enough for it? No. It's going to be an interesting response. Why does she say to him, yeah, I don't think so? Let's listen to both the poems. We'll be listening to Professional Reader. We will start with Passionate Shepherd to His Love. All right, here we go.
Passionate Shepherd to His Love. Christopher Marlowe. In Christopher Marlowe's The Passionate Shepherd to His Love, the speaker invites his beloved to escape the cares of life with him. Sir Walter Raleigh imagines how the young woman might respond in The Nymph's Reply to the Shepherd. As you read these 2 poems, consider the contrasting views on love that they offer. Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove that valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods, or steepy mountain yields. And we will sit upon the rocks, seeing the shepherds feed their flocks, by shallow rivers to whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals. And I will make thee bed of roses and 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers and a kirtle, embroidered all with leaves of myrtle, a gown made of the finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pull, fair lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold, a belt of straw and ivy buds, with coral clasps and amber studs. And if these pleasures may thee move, come live with me and be my love. The shepherd's swains shall dance and sing for thy delight each May morning. If these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my love. The nymph's reply to the shepherd.
All right, here we go.
Sir Walter Raleigh. If all the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might we move, to live with thee and be thy love. Time drives the flocks from field to fold, when rivers rage and rocks grow cold, and Philomel becometh dumb, the rest complains of cares to come. The flowers do fade, and wanton fields to wayward winter reckoning yields. A honey tongue, a heart of gall, is fancy's spring, but sorrow's fall. Thy gowns, thy shoes, thy beds of roses, thy cap, thy kirtle, and thy posies, soon break, soon wither, soon forgotten, in folly ripe, in reason rotten. Thy belt of straw and ivy buds, thy coral clasps and amber studs, all these in me no means can move, to come to thee and be thy love. But could youth last and love still breed, had joys no date nor age no need, then these delights my mind might move, to live with thee and be thy love.
Alright, so now let's talk through these poems real quickly. I told you in advance I would ask you two questions. The first question, fairly self-evident. What is it that this poor shepherd, and we do mean poor, right? He's got nothing in terms of currency, right? What is it that this poor shepherd says he will give to her if she will come to be his girl? What are some of the things that he says he will give to her?
Bed of roses.
A bed of roses. I'll lay flowers down on the ground, and we can sleep with the roses. What else?
Slippers of gold.
He's gonna give her slippers made of what?
Oh, buckles.
What's he gonna? Different parts of her dress? They all come from where? What do you find? They either come from the sheep or they come from what? The land, flowers, stuff like that. In other words, what's he say to her? Can you put it in your own words? What's he say?
I can't buy you
I can't buy you anything. So what? I'll make stuff for you. I'll make up stuff for you. That comes from, well, basically where I do my thing. In other words, you and I can sit together on a rock and we can watch sheep. That will be our exciting time together. Because obviously I got no currency to take you out to a show or anything like that. So hey, why don't you just come? Basically, you just get to be with me. Are you hearing this? I got nothing to offer you, so you get to hang with me. That's basically all I have to offer you. And the stuff that I can call a gift for you is stuff I can't buy because I ain't got no currency, but I'll make it for you. What do you say? Come live with me and be my love. Let's also point out, notice, he does not ask her to marry him. Do you notice this? Why would he not ask her to marry him? He can't ask her to marry him. Who would he have to ask to marry that girl? See, that's the whole point of Romeo and Juliet, right? That's the big dog deal of Romeo marrying Juliet without the father's agreement, right? Notice later in the play R&J, when Juliet's dad's ready for her to get married to Paris, he just tells her to do it. She, of course, can't do it. Why? Why can't she do it? She's already married to Romeo, remember? She's like, I can't do that. How does dad respond to that? Remember? How does Juliet's father respond to Juliet? Saying, yeah, not well, right? Not well. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, Raleigh decided to have a little bit of fun with this text. And he imagines what the girl will say back. Now, you could make the argument that the first poem doesn't become really famous until the second poem is written because it's pretty sarcastic, ironic. The tone is darkly ironic. You have a male poet speaking for a female, and she says what to him? Basically, what does she say to him? Yeah, no. No, I'm not interested. You got nothing that I want. But I asked you before we started, why does she gun him down? What, is he like butt ugly or something? No. She gives reasons why in this little poem. Let's look at each stanza and ask ourselves, what is the argument that she's making, right? And I remember with fondness that time that freshman girl in this class, I overheard her saying, well, I'm so excited, first week of freshman year, I'm so excited. A senior boy's asking me out because he really likes me. See how that works? See how that works? Okay, right. Here we will see some interesting comparisons. Do you think it's possible that once or twice at Worland High School, a guy has promised a girl something so he could get something from her, and the girl figured it out only too late, that he was full of garbage? In our poem, she doesn't figure it out too late. She figures it out way early, and she guns him down. But why does she gun him down? Let's take a look. If all the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love. Ouch, what has she just said? Put in your own words in your notes.
She just called him a liar.
Why, though? She says if. If what? If guys told the truth, Whoa, whoa, what is she saying about guys? Guys are what? Guys will say what they need to say to get what they want. And she says, I'm not that stupid. I don't buy it. I don't buy what you're selling. Time, look at the next stanza. Time drives the flocks from field to fold. When rivers rage and rocks grow cold and Philomel becometh dumb, the songbird. The rest complains of cares to come. What's the second stanza? What's her argument here? What's the argument about time? What does she say about time? You're into me now. But what? What does she know about guys? Well, what did we just say about Romeo? The play opens and he's totally in love with who? Rosaline. He's ready to put a bullet in his brain because she won't return a text. Not even 5 hours later in the day. He sees Juliet. And guess what? He's totally forgotten about Rosaline. He doesn't even know she exists. In fact, later, when his buddies ask him about Rosaline, he's like, Rosaline, what are you talking about? Dude, I've totally forgotten about her. I'm totally into Juliet now. Any number of girls watching that play might make the observation, wow, this just does seem to be the way one or two guys happen to work. They're totally into it until they're not. And then they're on to the next project. She says, yeah, time is that way. Right? In other words, of course you feed the sheep in the middle of the spring and summer when it's nice, but sooner or later it's going to be what? It's going to be winter. Where are we going to stay when it's winter? Have you thought about that? In other words, have you thought about that? We can speak, this poem can be both literal and metaphoric, right? In other words, well, yeah, I know that you like me now, but are you going to like me later? I don't think so. That's what she says. How about the third one? The flowers do fade, and wanton fields to wayward winter reckoning yields. A honey tongue, a heart of gall, is fancy spring, but sorrows fall. I once had a senior that said, those last two lines, a senior girl, said, those last two lines are what I needed to read when I was a freshman. Go back and look at it again. See what she says to him? A honey tongue. What is a honey tongue? Does that mean somebody who literally has honey on his tongue? No, we're speaking in metaphor. What does a honey tongue mean? Somebody that can talk and say exactly what the girl wants to hear. He must love me. Listen to how nice he talks to me. Look at what follows a honey tongue. A heart of gall. What is gall?
Spite.
Yeah, gross tasting. In other words, it starts out sounding so good, it ends up being so bad. Look at the next one. Thy gowns, thy shoes, thy beds of roses, thy cap, thy kirtle, and thy posies soon, break. Soon wither. Look at the next one. Soon forgotten. In folly ripe, in reason rotten. A senior girl once said, a guy that I was with when I was a freshman doesn't even look at me now. It's as if I don't exist. And this poem speaks directly to it. How quickly it's all forgotten. And then it's done. And she says, you don't fool me so easy. You don't fool me so easy. Thy belt of straw, look at the next one, and ivy buds, thy coral clasp and amber studs, all these in me no means can move to come to thee and be thy love. But she offers a bit of hope, but it's ironic hope. But could youth last and love still breed, has joy no date, nor age no need, then these delights my mind might move to live with thee and be thy love. She says, in this very moment, I'm totally into what you're offering me. I would do it. The only problem is, life ain't just this moment. Life is the moment that comes after, and then after that, and then after that. And into the future, I kind of have a sense we ain't going to have much. And therefore, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to play the game. Now, this is a very interesting couple of poems. Poem A, you have a guy trying to make an argument. Poem B, you have a girl with a response argument that says, I can do argument better than you. I'm smarter than you. You don't have anything to offer me that will last very long. It begs, though, some really intriguing questions. Let's jot down a couple at 3B. One of the interesting questions, and you can work on either poem for this one. One of the interesting questions is, how does a girl ever know when a guy is actually telling the truth versus just lying to get what he wants. Right? How does a girl ever know that? And Hernandez says, she'll never know that. Which begs a really intriguing question then. Is it a matter that girls are really that stupid that they believe guys? Beck nodded his head. You guys can hit him later, girls. Is that what it is? Or is it that girls know it and they still jump in anyway? And why would they do that? Why would a girl put herself in a circumstance like that? Is it love? I mean, why? Why would a girl do that? Let's go to another question. Is this poem being harshly rude to guys? It says, basically, all guys are liars because all guys see girls as objects that they simply want to possess, and then once they possess them, they let them go. Is that a fair representation of all guys?
No.
Do you think that's fair to think of all guys that way? Or do you think that's one of those some guys, not all guys? And the next obvious question is, how can one know the difference? How's a girl supposed to know the difference between a guy who's authentic versus a guy who's a flake? I mean, because obviously they don't wear big neon signs, right? How do they know? Next question. Do you think, since the Renaissance and the time this poem was written, do you think some things have changed? And do you think now, for example, it's almost the opposite, where oftentimes guys have to play the role of listening to the girl make all these talking, and the guy's got to figure out if the girl is telling the truth or not? Of course, let's point out something now, finally, really important for your notes. If a guy is asking the girl, who has the power when she says no? Think about it. If a guy asks the girl, be with me, and the girl comes back and says no, who in the end has the power? In this poem, from these two poems, think about it. This is a radical moment in the Renaissance. Who has the power?
The girl.
See, in Romeo and Juliet, when Paris comes to Lord Capulet to ask for the hand of Juliet in marriage, the father is going to give Juliet away. She doesn't have anything to say in the matter. That's the point of the final scene, when the dad says, if you don't obey me, I'm throwing you out in the house and you can go die in the streets. That's what he says to her. She has no power. In these two poems, notice there's a subtle shift of power. Notice the shepherd, he doesn't go to the girl's father to ask for her hand in marriage because he's got nothing. He asks the girl herself and she says no. Which tells you there's a shift in terms of power. Who has the power? All of a sudden she does. The minute the guy has to ask the girl for something, everything has shifted, and now she has power and he does not have, and he has to live with rejection. Is that hard, do you think, for guys to live with rejection?
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for guys to live with rejection, do you think?
The